learn to improve conversions and generate more leads with the video podcast at marketingoptimization.tv. Hi, and welcome to Marketing Optimization with Alex Designs. I'm your host, Alex Harris, and today we're talking with Jeremy Smith. How you doing, Jeremy?
Good, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Good. Thanks for being here. To get started, what would be your definition of optimization, and why is it beneficial?
Man, that's such a crazy question. It's so much harder than it sounds. I think the biggest definition for me might be a little different from what a lot of people think, but it's moving revenue needles, right? We're all in this to get more forms or more sales or whatever it may be, but it's really looking at those revenue needles and what's working and what's not, and optimize what's working. Mm-hmm. You know, whether it's an SEO channel or a PPC channel or landing pages or whatever it may be, but optimization to make those revenue needles move. You know, that's the big trigger for me.
Yeah, well, definitely you have to have those KPIs or those specific goals, or you're never going to stay in business if you're not optimizing for improvement, for sure. Jeremy, to get started, let's tell a little bit of people about you. What do you do? What does your consulting firm do, and where are you located?
Yeah, so I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. Like I was telling you earlier, I sleep here on the weekends. I travel quite a bit. Do a lot of training around conversion optimization, around just a lot of the channels themselves and optimizing those channels. Mm-hmm. Do quite a bit of consulting with companies and marketing companies, and how to move those revenue needles. So, the psychology behind why people are doing a certain thing, and you get more into that when you talk about that level or definition of optimization, mm-hmm. Of why users are behaving a certain way, or what are we doing for those users on our site in order to move them down that funnel. But I blog a lot. I blog a lot about psychology and kind of why we click, why we buy, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. What's that? Not only that demographic, but psychographic, mm-hmm. and what cognitive elements lead us to making that conversion. So we focus a lot of that with companies and their marketing departments.
Yeah, I love talking about this stuff because in the last couple episodes, I've been interviewing people like Natalie Nahai about the web psychology, and just recently Roger Dooley from Brainfluence. Yeah. And I'm learning that what I've been doing in web design is there's actually a specific method in science to these things, and I love meeting the people who talk about it, and then you, Jeremy, who actually are executing and implementing these things. And as you mentioned, you've been doing a bunch of different guest posts on Unbounce and a number of different places. And one particular guest post that I found that I really liked was the 3 conversion psychology principles to test on your landing page. Right. And if you're on marketingoptimization.tv, you can get the link for this particular blog post, and we're going to walk through that particular post that Jeremy wrote. So to get started, what would be the first psychology principle?
So I guess, from that blog post or from an overall perspective, a lot of times what I look at on landing pages or when users come is what are the pain points? Where are the friction elements on that site, right? There's so many different things that get in the way. And designers, I hate to say this, but they don't like me a lot because what looks like a great design may not be or maybe the thing that's causing the problem, whether it's too big of an image or the image doesn't say what it needs to say. Because subliminally, we process these things, and we process content and images differently, especially depending on our background and where we're located. But the pain element and friction element on a page are really what I focus in on. And so reduction of that pain or stimulating the pleasure emotions, right, and mm-hmm. making people feel good. If we talk about, like you're talking about scientists and the definitions of addiction as doing one thing that causes that pain or euphoria that makes you want to go back and do it all the time. And we don't want people to get addicted to our site, obviously, but we want them to have a pleasurable experience. So pain is probably that number one motivator or factor and friction when I'm looking at a site for the first time.
Yeah, and in this particular blog post, you talk about what because as you said, people move either towards pleasure or to avoid pain, right. And how to make these particular people who are visiting our site happy or emotional trigger to make them actually convert. So in this particular post, you talk about how do you apply the physical the psychology of pleasure to these landing pages. Can you talk about some of the aspects of how people kind of think about themselves and think about being happy?
Yeah,
or
that was my first. Yeah, that was my first one actually. Is making people think of themselves first, and it's simple stuff in copy of focusing the experience on them versus my product or my service. Mm-hmm. It's a simple element of using the word "you" a lot, referring to specific elements of their website, services, products, whatever it may be, but making them feel like they're making the choice, and there's an emotion there, right? Because their search, or based on their search criteria, they're trying to feel something or get information or feel that emotion. So if we turn the tables back and say, this is all about you, I want you to have a clear understanding of what's happening with this product or service, and doing that through title, through subtitles, through copy, through images. You just kind of pick apart each element and make sure that piece is focused on the user itself.
Yeah, I mean, I know this in detail because when I worked at a .com, I worked for a diet and fitness company for many years, right. and we played into the emotional aspect of why people go on diet plans. Not everybody, no one wants to lose weight, no one wants to go on a diet, but there's reasons for it to happen. In the case of a woman who's wanting to lose weight, we would try to figure out why she'd want to actually lose weight. Is there an event coming up, like her son's wedding that she wants to lose weight for? Or maybe she had a visit to the doctor and now she has to, she has to lose weight, or she potentially could create more pain for herself. So if you can tie into those aspects and know what the particular ad is trying to solve, then you can basically just demonstrate those pains and use those pains to leverage your conversions.
Right. Yep. It goes back to the relevance element of the site. Yeah, definitely.
Yep. Awesome. Well, looking through this particular, blog post, I did notice that you have an example of bills.com right there. I think this is a really interesting site because they've been doing this same type of conversion funnel for many years now. And they're playing into, the emotion, asking a specific question, how much do you owe? And then having a drop-down field right there specifically to get people to interact with the particular page from a pain point. They're getting involved, telling people how much they owe, and the page automatically interacts and gets them into the next step process. It's like that no-thought conversion funnel type of, and I don't know if you do these, but I try to set these type of conversion funnels up for my clients as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's actually funny you mentioned that. I was just talking to somebody else about how this isn't the greatest design, right? And there's even legal jargon on this page itself, right? I just want to get out of the way. The phone number is small. They obviously don't want people to call. They want to go through that funnel. But this is a great example of how it just hits directly to the heart of, man, my net worth sucks. I need it to be higher. How much do I owe? And why do I owe those things? Mm-hmm. And it's simple. The thing is the simplicity element. As you probably know as a designer, you get into, for the lack of a better term, pissing contests with CEOs and different people about what they want on a specific page, imagery on a home page or an index page. And it boils down to the simpler tests usually win. And I hate the word best practices, and I know we use it a lot in our industry. And I tend to say, just a different way to say those, but in any case here, you still want to test those things.
Yeah.
But this is a great example of just, there's no imagery here. It's just text. It's one click, and it's effective as can be because it's, ouch, yeah, how much do I owe? What do I need to do in order to get over that budget issue or whatever it may be?
Yeah.
So I can make more money.
Well, I mean, the whole concept really makes sense to me because there's one thing that I've really found that everybody wants to do when they arrive at a landing page. They either want to click on something or maybe scroll, but they actually want to interact. They actually want to do something. That they have to do something in order to move forward. The simpler and non-committal as much as possible, really the better, especially coming off of pay-per-click advertising. And I think this type of just headline with a interactive element, getting people to actually get involved. You know who actually does this really good too is Trunk Club. If you go to Trunk Club's website, they have one big get started particular button, and then you go through their particular process. You choose what type of clothes you want. You choose a couple different brands. They get you emotionally involved with their product, and in the end, they ask to actually collect the lead. So I highly recommend that you try to test these particular type of interactive elements. And the quote that you pull out on this particular section of the blog post is, to help prospects convert, pinpoint where they hurt, and then offer the solution.
Yeah.
I think that's really clear. You know, you get people to interact with something that's related to their emotional elements, and then you hang on those emotions, and you get them to actually push forward.
It almost sometimes feel like we're exploiting unfair advantages on doing this, because if you go back to the Bills.com example, you really, there's an anxiety level due to finances, right? And we've all been there, where how are we going to pay rent? Is it how much beer do I buy, or how much food do I eat, or when we're in college, or whatever it may be, you have this anxiety of, man, my bank account's really low, and so that's why they do such a good job there. But yeah, it is. It's focusing on that pain, and I know we hear this time and time again, especially salespeople talk about pain points, but there's a different way to convey it on landing page, and simplicity is really the way to go. But like I said, the engagement element, wherever you go, you want to interact with the page.
Now we've talked about design and the basics of psychology. Now let's talk about pricing. The third aspect that you talk about on this particular post is the psychology of spending. How much do they want to spend? Now it can be difficult to really figure that out, and you're going to have to test to get to the right price. But how can you apply the psychology of spending to landing pages?
So first of all, it's never about the money. It is what it is. People will spend money if it solves a problem for them and if it makes their life easier. So, and I have it in this post, I think I was talking about, if I can remember right, there's two kinds of people, right? Tightwads and spendthrifts is I think the words I used specifically. But it just basically talks about range, right? And these approximate ranges. And it's funny you mention that. I'm doing some tests right now with a real large, one of the biggest nonprofit organizations on the West Coast. And we're doing donation tests and price anchoring. And so we're looking at, and this is a different area of spending, right? It's not a commerce element. It's not something that I need, but it goes back to a feel-good element, especially right now with, I need to donate in December so I can put it on my taxes, right? But at the same time, I'm doing something good, I'm helping somebody out. So we're looking at the different levels of, is it $30 is the initial button, or is it 50, or is it 100? What is that first starting price anchor, and why do they click that?
Yeah.
And this is a great example. We were talking about this yesterday, looking at the data. Just because somebody clicks the third challenger, or the one that has the highest amount of money, and if our results show that this variation is the winner, there's also this place on that list where it says other. So we need to look at not only how many people click that first button, but how many people are clicking the other, and how much money they're spending in other. So we're looking at data differently on each element and why they're spending, how they're spending. So there's a lot of psychology and a lot of time looking at why they're doing certain things. And I just happen to have that example at the top of my tongue here. But when we look at influencing price ranges, we're looking at framing or anchoring or things that way, so that whatever preconceived notion that they have in their head, whether they've done this before or they've heard somebody else buy something at that price, they have something to relate to, essentially what the framing element is. So it's really finding that ideal price point and then testing that range inside.
Yeah, it can. This is some important stuff to really think about here, because as you mentioned, anchoring the price, and then visually displaying the price so people can understand it, so the psychology can take effect, because people do not like to pay retail. They think that they're going online to get a savings. So you want to make sure that you have that savings in a burst, called out, red, whatever it is. If you're doing a nonprofit, make sure that there's some value to the money that you're giving. I know that when I heard Ollie Gardner speak at the Unbounce conference, he's talked about his nonprofit example when he did the Ice Bucket Challenge. He did the Ice Bucket Challenge, and then he went to actually go and donate. And he went to the donate page, and he saw that the donate page had already way exceeded the levels that they wanted to. So he's like, why should I donate? They've already reached there. Of course, he did donate, right, but it influenced him to think that, oh, maybe I shouldn't. So maybe the donation company just raises their donations even further, so they can continue to exceed that. I don't know if that's
very right. And it's very true. Yeah. First level, we hit our first level. Let's hit our second level. Yeah. Whatever maybe. But yeah, what's in it for me at the end of the day? Mm-hmm. What am I getting out of it? And you're right. Everybody gets online figuring out, okay, I can get a deal. Especially Cyber Monday. It was funny because I was just talking to my mom about this, and she wanted to buy something on Sunday and wasn't going to be there the next day. And she's calling me because I do this stuff and I'm supposed to know. And is it okay to go off of Amazon onto some other site? And is it trustworthy? So I had to explain all this stuff. But yeah, you're right. The deal element is what we're looking for. And I can't tell you that the countless times that I've tested this coupon, right? Whether it's a click a link or whether it's a box, or it always distracts from the whole process. Because it never fails. I think something like 50% of the people or more put in the wrong coupon code, or go to another page and then search on these coupons if there's any coupons. And it's so distracting to the whole process. So we try and find ways to do it beforehand where it's already baked in. So they're seeing, okay, normal price, here's the deal you're getting now, which goes back to the point you're talking about. And the conversions are so much higher every time we do it that way. But again, you see a lot of content out there saying best practices, make a coupon code a link, somebody will just scroll over it. That's a guiding principle, what I like to call them. But you got to test that stuff too. But yeah, you're right on with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the e-commerce perspective, the biggest problem that e-commerce sites have is Amazon. And it could be a problem or it could be an advantage. If you have an e-commerce site, make sure that your products are on Amazon too. Just do that and you'll make more money. But aside from that, if you don't want people to go to Amazon and they reach like your cart page, maybe for first-time visitors, non-cookie visitors, you have in the header, put the coupon code. Because everybody listening to the show has bought a domain name, and before they go and buy a domain name, you go and you search GoDaddy domain names looking for that 99 cents domain name. Everybody's done it, and that's led us to be coupon connoisseurs. We going to Retail Me Not or whatever website it is and looking for that latest coupon code. For e-commerce sites, just put the coupon code actually in your header or a link to actually pop up. New first-time visitors only, and it'll increase your conversions. There's no reasons for people to leave your site and actually go to Amazon. Give them the coupon code right
when
there.
They're there, that's exactly right. Yep. Don't give them initiative to leave your site. And then guess what happens? The phone rings, the baby cries, the dog barks, wife comes home. Something happens, and they're distracted from whatever they were doing. We see it all the time in our user focus desk. And then they come back and go, okay, what was I doing? And they might go on a completely different site or do the search again. And because it's a different time or a different device, your channel's different, they might wind up somewhere else completely. So yeah, totally get that all day long. I mean, really when it comes down to it, it's, give them your ideal price point and show them the number. Yeah. I think I talk about this in the blog post, and show them how much they're going to save by purchasing your product. And you give a great example with e-commerce is put it in there for them. Here's the savings. Why wouldn't you buy it right now? Even if it is inflated, or even if they know they can save it a little bit more money by going somewhere else, they're here. It's an easy process. You're giving it to them right now. They're going to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, great insight. And these are all the things that you can, you want to take pieces that work for your site. Obviously, it's going to be a case by case basis. Every site works differently, but these are all things that you can test. Each of these ideas that Jeremy has listed in this particular blog post, they're all different hypotheses that you can create an educated guess and actually just go ahead and actually test for your own site. Now, Jeremy, let's talk a little bit about you. Let's talk about your site, what services that you offer, and maybe how people can get in touch with you.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you can get in touch with me anyway. Phone number is on my site. On Twitter, I'm Jeremy Said. Just a quick Reader's Digest how that came. People heard me speak a lot in a previous life, I guess, and when I owned an agency, and I would hear everybody say, well, Jeremy said do this, and Jeremy said do that. And of course, Jeremy Smith was already taken, and sometimes I even be called Mr. Said, and I'm like, no, I have to correct. Yeah, Jeremy Said on Twitter, jeremysaid.com. You can check out my site. I've got a bunch of free resources on there, downloadable resources. I even have an 11,000 word shopping cart abandonment guide. I just went crazy on. I just kept writing and writing and writing. It just seems like I never stopped on that one. It's all free. Services I provide is a lot of consulting on conversion optimization, the psychology behind why we buy online, really the behavioral economics of why people do certain things when they're online. And at the end of the day, it's moving revenue deals. That's what we're trying to do.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely check him out at jeremysaid.com. To close out, what would be one thing that optimizers can do to really take their business and their conversion rates to the next level?
And you don't know how many times I've thought about this question. And I think, I was watching Rand's video that you did, and I completely agree with him, and he totally took my answer, so I had to come up with something else. But I think one of the things is spend more time with analytics. Spend more time getting insights on why people are doing what they're doing on a specific page or on your website. If you want to just start with a website, we search for brands and we land on the index page, but that's like it's a operator, where can I direct you now? We want to get them off that index page as fast as possible and get them to a funnel. Spend more time with that insights element and then break down the segments of, okay, why are they reacting a certain way if they're searching this way coming from SEO? Or if they clicked on a paid link, what was their emotion, and analyze that and document that customer journey or that customer map. Get a whiteboard, get a piece of paper, and build them out. You'll find that it helps you position the happy people or cute animals or bright colors, whatever you want to call it, on your landing pages. And I think that's what a lot of people don't do enough of, is look for insights in analytics using GA or Kissmetrics or Crazy Egg or ClickTail, whatever tool of choice you have. So, and of course, the one that Rand said, I'll reiterate, is you can always continue to optimize. That 1%, that 0.5%, during certain times of the season, especially in e-commerce, that can mean millions of dollars, depending on traffic. So it's a never-ending thing that we can always do, right? And it's enjoyable when we get a win. When we get a loss, we learn. We have to chalk it up to that. So those are probably my two big things there.
Awesome. I think it's a really great point, because one of the new concepts that really has taken the internet by storm, and a couple of people talked about this. I know Noah Kagan from AppSumo, but one metric that really matters. If you don't have a framework, follow someone else's framework. If you have a framework that does work for yourself, just use it. Whatever it is, just use a system that you can continue to make better. Yeah. Find ways that you can get qualitative data and then use analytics to figure out real hypotheses, figure out what works, and then build that map, as Jeremy said. If you're able to really define that map on your whiteboard, on your white paper, you'll eventually understand exactly what is working on your website and what is not working. Do more of actually what is working, and then continue to take that same exact process and re-engineer it for other areas of your site. You're going to find out in analytics specifically where people are going on your site, and then you can use heat maps specifically, what they're actually clicking on. And then, you could really build out that ideal click map to get people from either your natural search results or your pay-per-click ads directly to the finish line, those conversions.
Right. Definitely. Completely agree.
Cool. Thanks a lot for your time, Jeremy.
Thanks, Alex. Take care.
Thank you for watching the Marketing Optimization Podcast with Alex Designs. Please remember to subscribe to all of the videos in my YouTube channel. Thank you.